Good morning, everybody. The training team in HR department welcomes you in this session, in this workshop. Today with us, Juhaina Al-Aisari. She will talk about entrepreneurial mindset. Please, Juhaina, you can start.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't know if you guys can view the screen. I'm trying to present. Can you view the screen?
واضح جهينة السكرين الحين واضح. Now we can see the screen.
It's clear now.
You can view it, right?
Yes.
Thank you everyone for joining my presentation today. Hopefully you'll learn something new and you'll be able to apply whatever we're going to discuss today and help you change your mindsets. I don't know if you guys are familiar with entrepreneurship and the innovation department at the university. I am working the entrepreneurship and innovation department here on campus. We do a lot of stuff related to entrepreneurship and innovation. We're working our best to kind of cultivate the culture of entrepreneurship and innovation within campus through encouraging students to participate in different competitions, providing them with programs and different activities that kind of enrich their skills in entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's why I picked the title, Fostering the Culture of Entrepreneurship in campus, because if we're gonna work on developing students' entrepreneurial skills, we also need to consider staff entrepreneurial mindset, because it's an equation. And if we're gonna empower the students on campus and work our best to kind of provide all the resources for them and all the hands-on and experience and the projects to work on, we cannot independently work with students without considering the other part of the equation, which is the staff and faculty at the university. And that's why we're kind of spreading awareness about developing our skills as staff and faculty, whether academic or administrative staff. It's really important for all of us together to work and collaborate and kind of enhance our entrepreneurial skills and enhance our entrepreneurial mindsets in order to give to our students our best, and in order to also create a cultivated culture where entrepreneurship is encouraged and is witnessed every day and seen and thriving within our campus. And so the PowerPoint today is basically about enriching the entrepreneurial mindsets. I'm going to leave innovation on the side, although they are correlated. And whenever you say entrepreneurship, a lot of terms come, in front of your eyes, like creativity, innovation, problem solving. I'm not going to focus on all these skills, although they come under the entrepreneurial mindset. We're going to discuss them lightly, but the main focus here today is the entrepreneurial mindset. How can we set the grounds for our students, for ourselves in the organizations, to be more productive, to give more to our university, and to kind of think out of the box and see things from kind of a different perspective. So that is the whole point of this presentation. Hopefully you will be able to relate to whatever you do every day, and you can maybe be the change that you want to see and start making even minor adjustments. Small adjustments will lead to a bigger and a complete improvement, a picture, improved picture. So let's define entrepreneurship first. I'm sure that everyone knows entrepreneurship. It's kind of become a trend, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. If you're whether a college dropout, or you're a student in the college, or you're a businesswoman, or you're a housewife, or you are an engineer, or you're a doctor, everyone is planning to be an entrepreneur at some point of their lives. But the question is, can we all be entrepreneurs? Are entrepreneurs born, or there are certain skills that you need to develop in order to be an entrepreneur? All these things, we're going to learn them today in our session, but let's first define the word entrepreneurship. So according to Harvard Business School, there are different definitions of entrepreneurship, but one of which that is the most important is the first one, which is entrepreneurship is the act of creating business or businesses while building and scaling it to generate a profit. So for the most part, if you have a business model that does not generate profit, then you're most likely not doing any type of business, that you're maybe doing some charity work. But if you're generating money, you're making profit off of your business, then definitely this is an entrepreneurial business or a venture. So entrepreneurship, there is always a financial reward, a profit coming out of it. And the second definition of entrepreneurship is a situation where people are taking calculated risk and people are getting themselves into really risky situations in order to get the reward that they're looking for. And so that's another definition that also is really entitled to entrepreneurship. When it comes to Oman, entrepreneurship is often tied with diversification. What do we mean by diversification? Oman is one of the countries that focus for the most part, I would say 80% or maybe more, maybe 95% of our revenues are generated from oil and gas industry. And the government is always seeking to kind of diversify our economic growth through maybe venturing in entrepreneurship, supporting SMEs, advising for a knowledge-based economy, and knowledge that not only depends on oil, but rather depends on other resources that could be useful to our overall GDP, like tourism, like education, like whatever other sector other than the oil and gas sector. Because right now the primary giver of all the economic profits is the oil and gas. And Oman is planning, in at least its Vision 2040, is to empower this sector of entrepreneurship and innovation and diversify, encourage more SMEs, encourage more people to open up startups and venture in businesses in different fields, whether telecommunication, oil and gas, in tourism, in businesses, whatever field, as long as there are startups and there are a lot of projects where actually the government is accelerating these kind of startups to help these people kind of stand on their feet and understand the environment of entrepreneurship and help them sustain to give to the economy in return. So diversification is the term that we know entrepreneurship is entitled to when it comes to our context in Oman. So Oman, when you say entrepreneurship, it means that you are opening a new opportunity, you are providing jobs, you are making a startup that helps the economy ultimately. Even if you think that, why should I think of my business as a difference maker or a business that will help diversify the economy when I am just having a small bakery at the corner of my community? But still, even that small bakery at your community makes a huge difference, and a lot of people would buy bread from you. With the transactions that you do, the money flow that goes in your operations and your business model is still considered to be something that gives in return to our economy. So don't ever underestimate any type of business, because whether directly or indirectly, these businesses impact and have a profound impact on our economy. So that's why Oman is really encouraging entrepreneurship, and encouraging entrepreneurship should not only start from colleges, but also should start from students at their school, whether high school or primary school. There should be that culture of teaching students to think out of the box, to think of business opportunity, to solve current issues that they're facing in order for them to kind of reach the ultimate goal, which is diversification. Because it's a very complex thing to say. You know, it's easier to say diversification, but what it really entitles and what it really has is a lot of operations, and the economy cannot be recovered only by the government or the private sector themselves. There are other parties and other roles that should be taken into consideration. And of course, educational institutions are definitely involved within this process because we help the industry with our graduates. What are the skills that we equip our students with? When they go to the graduate pool, what are the skills that they have? Are they entrepreneurial? Are they innovative? Are they problem solvers? Do they help in solving current issues, major problems, small problems, even within a community scale problems? Did they contribute to do anything, or are they just seeking knowledge at our educations and going back to the industry with no added value? So these are kind of things we need to encounter as an educational institution, and we need to also pay attention to when dealing with our students, because we want our graduates to have all these attributes in order for them to get jobs and to create opportunities, to create ventures, and also to hire other people. We don't want graduates that go to the market just for the sake of getting a job. And if I don't get a job, then I'm just going to stay home. That's it. I don't have any other opportunity. But we want graduates who create opportunities and who are willing to also take that risk and give to their community and think of problems that they're encountering and their family encounter, their communities encounter, and kind of contribute to the well-being of the economy. And then when it comes to the other term of entrepreneurship is encouraging and facilitating new business startups. And that's also the same thing as the first definition of entrepreneurship, creating opportunities, creating businesses, but also making sure that these businesses will generate money, will make money. We don't want businesses that do not make money, unless if you have a model that does not necessarily depend on money, but depends on social entrepreneurship. And there is another term that a lot of people may not differentiate between entrepreneurship and the social entrepreneurship. There are projects that are entrepreneurial but they're social, because the reward from them is not financial as much as it's social, and it's for the community, for the people, in order for them to kind of get the benefits from those people who have minds and who have creativity and who are willing to give without getting any return. And that is another type of entrepreneurship. But if you're talking about entrepreneurship independently, it really entitles money and rewards and financial stability. And entrepreneurship is always about difference making. When I say difference making, I mean as a colleague of my team here in the department, I want to be a difference maker. When I'm working in my business, I want to be a difference maker. When I am with my family, I want to be a difference maker. That is the mentality of entrepreneurship. If you're an entrepreneur, you should always be able to make a difference, regardless of how small the difference may be. A lot of people would say, I can make a difference, and that difference is not really, counted because it was a very small difference. But yes, it does matter, because that small difference may lead to other or major differences in the future. So entrepreneurship is always about difference making, about kind of highlighting the problems and seeing what can you do exactly to change whatever is happening. What can you add? What is the value that you could add in order to improve certain operations, certain services, certain things that happen in a wrong manner? So what can you do exactly? It doesn't have to be in a business. It could be in your home. It could be in your office. It could be anywhere around the world, as long as you can identify these challenges and hinder them and take them and kind of change them into something positive and something with an impact. So that is the term of entrepreneurship. Now let's talk about mindsets. A mindset is basically a very complex operation. Why is it complex? Because a lot of things happen in order for us to have the mindset that we have today. So right now, if you ask me, what is my mindset is built of? I would say triple consciousness. I have been raised, maybe, for example, I'm talking about myself. I've been raised speaking three languages, so that ultimately impacts my mindset, right? Just being raised in a culture where three languages are being spoken, being raised in a culture where, for example, open-mindedness is encouraged, being in a culture where creativity is fostered, being in a culture where religion is very important, family is really important, values are really important, attitudes are really important. A lot of factors come into play, and these all these factors, they're here at the bottom if you can see. All these factors contribute to shaping who you are as an identity. So your identity may not be like mine. It all depends on the surrounding that you have, the environment that you've been brought up in, the attitude that you see your parents, the way your parents teach you, the way they parent you. All of these factors contribute to your mindset and help you build your identity and help you kind of create your own circle with all the beliefs and the assumptions and the knowledge and the process and the decision making and the guidance you've received, the behavior. All of these things create your mindsets, and our mindsets are kind of the machines that drive us to wherever you want to go. So if you have a mindset that's really backward, you would never ever take a risk. You'd never be entrepreneurial because you believe that why take risk when I can be on the safe or on my comfort zone? Why take this initiative when I know that it's not going to be of any benefit? Why should I maybe talk or communicate with this person when I know that communicating with this person would not be of any value? That is your mindset. You'll never learn, you'll never flourish, you'll never exchange information, you'll never be able to network, you'll never be able to kind of enjoy the essence of life. And that is all based off the mindset. But the question is, can we change our mindsets, or our mindsets are only based off these things? And once we have a mature age, or we're 18, we're 20, we cannot change our mindset. That is completely wrong, because you can change your mindset even if you're 50 years old. You may realize when you're 50 that, well, I wish I knew this when I was 20 because I could have done things differently. But now that I am 50, I still believe that this is something that I may use to change my behavior on certain things. So a mindset is definitely changeable, and it also depends on what are the exposures that you have. Where do you expose yourself with? Or who do you expose yourself with? Where do you expose yourself in? All these things help you identify who you are and help you build a very strong mindset. And my advice for you is always, always, always try to connect with people who have mindsets that are better than you so you could learn from them. But don't mingle with those who do not have a mindset that can gear you toward success or toward growth or toward flourishing, because that's what you really want in life. You want to develop, you want to improve your skills, your competencies, your knowledge. You want to know more as you grow. You want to give more to the communities. You want to give more to your people. And that would only happen if you sit with like-minded people, or people with a better mindset or a better outlook in life. Okay, so when it comes to our mindset, as I mentioned, it's the machine, it's the underlying mechanism, although it's a complex operation, but it helps us. If we have a nice mindset, a good mindset, an excellent mindset, you will always, always highlight opportunities. You will never be sitting somewhere without identifying certain things that you could help with. So they help you expose yourself to opportunities because your mindset is open and your mindset is there to ignite whatever is there. So that is an opportunity for you to expose yourself to new opportunities. And also it helps you engage with others and flourish and thrive, as I've mentioned. And sometimes the other side of their mindset, if you have a very dark mindset where you don't really want to learn from other people, where you don't want to engage with other people, and you feel like everyone is out of the loop, everyone doesn't understand, that is a mindset that is blocked. And when you have a hinder and block, you don't see opportunities, then your mindset is blocked. And we don't need this kind of mindset, especially in higher education institutions where you have maybe academics who have certain ways of teaching and certain ways of maybe delivering information to their students. When a student comes, and especially now with Generation Z and all the technological exposure, when somebody comes and tells you, well, I believe Miss or Mr. or Doctor, that the way you're teaching is not really suitable with our needs, and it does not really fit with our maybe exposures and with our understanding. It could be a little bit outdated, and I would definitely advise you to look into this program, or to maybe take advantage or use this or utilize this, for example, platform to help you kind of facilitate teaching better. And then you go and say, well, I don't think that is something acceptable to receive from a student. A student's coming towards me and telling me to do all this. Who is this student? And if you have that kind of mindset, this will hinder you and block you from seeing opportunities, because you don't want to see what's going on around the other corner or the other side or the other perspective. So you're not really getting yourself exposed to opportunities. And that is the other side of, or the opposite of, exposing yourself to opportunities. So your mindset has, two clicks. Whether you want to explore opportunities or you want to hinder and block opportunities is totally up to you. The mindset is a mindset. And even though it's affected with all these, factors stated in the bottom, and there are other factors, still you can change your mindset and you can choose to expose yourself to opportunities. And the other one, it also keeps us unproductive and narrow our perspectives. And it's very similar to hindering and blocking opportunities, because when you have a very blocked mindset, what happens? You are unproductive because you don't want to learn, you don't want to grow, you don't want to develop, you don't want to take advantage of the new technologies that are available to help you facilitate your education better, right? So you're unproductive, you're not taking that extra mile to kind of learn something new, to maybe utilize something that you've never been exposed to. So again, it goes back to two bottoms, exploring opportunities and hindering opportunities. So it's, you have the bottoms, you choose which one you want to do. And now that I, defined entrepreneurship itself, and I defined the mindset itself, now let's put them all together. Entrepreneurial mindsets. When it comes to entrepreneurial mindsets, there are different definitions. Again, these definitions from Harvard Business School. You can always look back at them. But if you noticed, I have highlighted and underlined some of the keywords that maybe repeatedly came into these definitions. And one of them is identifying opportunities, overcoming challenges, opportunities, innovation, new value creation, open-mindedness, creativity, innovation, availability for taking calculated risk. So if you think about entrepreneurial mindsets, these are the keywords that are really, really important. And if you want to have an entrepreneurial mindset where you create value, where you solve problems, where you make something happen, where you diversify the economy, where you make a difference, then you definitely need these keywords in your life. Because you cannot have an entrepreneurial mindset when you cannot identify opportunities. And you cannot identify opportunities, then you are what? Your mindset is blocked. And we don't need that to happen. We need your mindset to be open, ready for change, resilient, and can adapt to anything that comes along the way. And that is the entrepreneurial mindset. You see things. For example, right now I'm sitting in my office, I see there is a problem. And this problem, what am I going to do? If I have an entrepreneurial mindset, I'm going to identify this problem, and I know that these problems or challenges, when I'm identifying them, I am actually identifying opportunities, because these small problems, we see them as problem, but they're in fact opportunities. Because once you start looking at it, you will be like, well, from this problem I can find this solution, I can find the second solution, this solution and third solution, and so on. And so just having so much solution is a way to tell you that this is not a problem, it is an opportunity, and you have to come to overcome this challenge through what? Through researching, through looking for appropriate solution, through looking at critical thinking, critically looking at the matter and seeing what difference you can make. How can you take advantage of this challenge and turn it into an opportunity? So that is the entrepreneurial mindset. And innovation is often, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, tied with entrepreneurship, because if you want to be entrepreneurial, you need to be innovative. And when I say innovative, I mean innovatively think. Innovatively think means see things from other perspectives. When you are looking at something from one perspective only, you may not know the other opportunities that you're missing. But if you wear other hats and change, or maybe wear somebody else's shoes and kind of see things from their kind of perspective, from their point of view, then you would only understand the opportunities that you're missing as an innovator. So innovation means also highlighting opportunities and finding ways that are not used or not utilized or not explored yet. And that is the difference between innovation and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, it could be something that has been done before, but maybe you have a different model that would improve whatever has been done, and you can maybe polish it a little bit more and give more a business kind of touch to help it operate in a better way to generate money. But innovation, it doesn't necessarily mean money, it means wealth, because innovation is something bigger, is something that has not been discovered before. You discovered it, you knew it, you have an IP, you have a patent for it. And in this patent, you can sell it for the biggest companies around the world and get their revenues, as per your agreement. Maybe it could be 50%, 40% without working. You just did the innovation, you did it once, and that's it. You give it, you get the IP or the patent. Somebody else does the work for you, and you get paid for it. And so entrepreneurial encounters more operations, more work to do. But when it comes to entrepreneurship and innovation all tied together, you can be an innovator and you can also be an entrepreneur. You can have your IP or you can have your patent on a certain discovery that you've invented or innovated. And then what happens is that you want to take it into the next level and kind of apply it. And so when you start applying your idea in your business, that's how you're going to utilize both skills. You're going to put it in a business operation, and it's still something innovative that could add value to the people that you're serving or your target audience. So again, two different meanings, slightly different, but again, they have a lot of things in common. They both encourage thinking out of the box, and they also encourage value creation. When it comes to the third one, is that it refers to a specific state of mind where human conducts toward entrepreneurial activities and outcome. It includes attributes such as open-mindedness, creativity, innovation, ability to take calculated risk. And again, we have talked about this, and I'm not going to repeat it again. It's the same idea. All these definitions kind of help you or guide you understand the idea of entrepreneurial mindset. If you want to have an entrepreneurial mindset, you need to have a culture of risk taking. If you don't know how to take risk, or you're going to be afraid of what's going to happen next, why put myself in this situation where I can comfortably sit here on my comfort zone and kind of do something else and enjoy the essence of life and kind of meditate, do exercising. Why put myself in trouble? If you don't have that kind of mentality, if you have this kind of mentality, I apologize. What happened is that you're better off not being an entrepreneur. But if you want to change your mindset, then this is another talk. If you want to change your mindset, then yes, change your mindset. Then try to think entrepreneurially of other opportunities that are around you. But if you don't want to take calculated risk, you want to sit on your comfort zone, then definitely opening a venture is not your thing, because that is not how it works. If you want to take that challenge, if you want to take that calculated risk, you may encounter a lot of things, but you will definitely learn from them. And when I say calculated risk, a lot of people may not understand calculated risk, because calculated risk is okay, the risk is risk. Why do you say calculated risk? Because the calculated risk is that you may have incomplete information about something that you imagine in your mind will happen and will be successful. And that is incomplete, but there is still a possibility of, let's say, 70-30 or 50-50 that it will definitely work. You do all your research and you have faith and you believe that, yes, this will be a project that I want to work on, then that is a calculated risk. But if you wake up in the morning, I want to open a coffee shop, I love coffee, I drink coffee almost 5 cups a day, I think this is a great venture, I understand the taste of coffee, I have a lot of connections, I know a lot of people who make coffee, and I'm connected to a couple of baristas, I'm just going to connect with them, open my coffee shop. That is not calculated risk. That is the opposite of calculated risk. That is called being random, being spontaneous, and indecisive. And that is something that we don't want people who have entrepreneurs to have, because that could lead to a damage, a huge damage. So again, we go back to entrepreneurs realize success only comes when taking a leap of faith. If you don't take chances, you won't be, or you won't move ahead of the game. So it is a very risky situation, matter of fact, not everyone can take that leap of faith, because it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of confidence, it requires a lot of faith, and also willingness and vision, a clear vision, objectives, clear goals, and also identified results that you want to achieve. If you have all these things together, then you are most likely going to take that leap of faith comfortably, because you have taken a calculated risk. But jumping from failure to success is not the easiest thing, as it may seem here. The jump may seem a little bit steady, but still you can tell that it requires a lot of skills that you need to know. But you also should be aiming to get reward from whatever you're doing. You're not going to take a leap of faith without thinking of the reward, as I mentioned, whether it's financial, whether it's social reward, whether if it's political reward, whatever reward you want to achieve from your leap of faith, there has to be some result written, specified, highlighted in order for you to kind of jump with excitement and with passion and with a desire to see change and with a desire to see the ultimate result that you're seeking for. And so that is very important. When it comes to entrepreneurial skills, there are a lot of skills that come under the entrepreneurial skills. And if I'm going to name them, I can go all day, naming all sets of skills that are under the entrepreneurial skills and will not finish. But I try to kind of narrow these skills and put them all together in order for you to get something out of this workshop today. When you go, after the workshop, you're going to say, well, do I have these skills? Is there a check mark in each of them? At least these are the most important skills that entrepreneurs or people who want to develop their entrepreneurial skills should have. Okay? So the first one is take ownership of their lives. Not everybody can take ownership of this is a big responsibility. A lot of people would say, again, we go back to the risk points because entrepreneurial skills is all risk. You're not sitting on your comfort zone at all. You're always thinking of hunting something that may not be visible, may not be witnessed by a lot of people, and it could be something that very dangerous, and it could lead to something that you've never encountered, but still you are taking that step. So the ownership of your life is really important. If you believe that you're only responsible for yourself and you are assured that whatever step you're taking is going to be beneficial and you are accountable for what actions are going to happen and the results that are going to be achieved, you take all these into consideration. If you have these kind of mindsets, then yes, you have the entrepreneurial skill. Okay, so that's the first step. And a lot of people would say, well, I can't, think of myself independently without tying other factors that come into play with me, like family, like religion, like communities, like politics, like other factors that also help shape your identity. They can help you shape your identity, but when it comes to decision making, you think of your life, you think of your venture, you think of your business as something independent, but you don't want to also think of it as an independent without considering these factors. You consider these factors, but when it comes to the decision making process, you want to make sure that you are responsible, you are accountable, and you can make the right decision that does not affect these factors. And these decisions will ultimately lead to maybe enhancing, developing these factors, but not harming them because they're really important. Maybe sometimes they are overestimated. We need to control that. We need to balance them. We don't need to underestimate them. We don't need to overestimate them, but rather kind of find a balanced equation where these factors come into play, but still do not affect our decision-making process largely. Because again, it's a business, and sometimes you need to be a little bit independent in the decision-making process. The second one is exercising freedom of thoughts. Not everybody has, the ability to exercise this freedom of thought, because when you start meditating and thinking, well, what are the things that I want to do? What are the ideas that I want to bring up to the table? What are the entrepreneurial opportunities that I want to foster in my organization or in my startup or in my business? You come along with a lot of distractive ideas and a lot of factors that kind of hinder you or block you from seeing the real idea that you're really looking forward to doing. So you need to exercise freedom of thought. And if you can meditate at least 10 minutes a day, that would really help you, clear your thoughts and would help you kind of get a better vision on what you're really envisioning to happen for you and for your business. So that is a very good exercise, and I advise everyone to do that. And the third point is initiates and innovates a new concept. If you have entrepreneurial skills, you will always be thinking of proposals. You'll always be thinking of a way of doing things differently. You will always be thinking of concepts that has not been applied. You'll always be thinking of development, of improvement, of adjustment, of change, because you're never settled. You're never sitting, you know, on in one spot and thinking, well, everything is all right, I don't have to make any changes. You're always thinking, you're always operating, thinking of things in a different manner. So that's another skill. If you have these kind of skills, then you're definitely, on the boat. The third one is self-directed, action-oriented, and highly engaged. Again, self-directed, you know that you have the leadership skills, you can guide yourself, you can help yourself kind of see your vision clearly and see your goals and kind of achieve them, have specified KPIs, what have you done, check your progress, see where you have achieved, and also action-oriented. You don't want to have goals and just, know that I have goals and I have visions and I have a motto and I have all these kind of, titles, but when it comes to real actions, you're not really working on anything. And that is another problem because if you have things written, then you need to have an action plan to help you kind of achieve whatever you have written. And then highly engaged. And of course, if you're going to start putting actions into plan or into play, you're going to definitely have to engage with people. And so if you're highly engaged, if you can communicate with people with no problems, with no issues, then you're definitely an entrepreneurial person. And highly resilient, resourceful, and solution oriented. You don't have any problems when somebody comes and tells you, well, the pandemic is here. There are a lot of things that needs to be changed in your business. The technology we're using is not really effective because we're targeting, for example, Generation Z, and these are the platforms that they're on. They don't usually use, for example, Twitter. So why highlight Twitter and focus on Twitter when you know that your target audience are focusing on Snapchat, Instagram? If you want to target Generation Z, then you're better off using these or utilizing these platforms. And you don't have any fears in change. You won't say, well, I don't want to change the platform because I have already worked on it. I have already created content for it. I have already done a lot of work on it. So this will be like kind of duplication and doing things two times. But still, if you are highly resilient, you will be willing to take the challenge and you will be able to kind of take another perspective or think of things from another perspective and take a leap of faith and be courageous enough to see things from other perspective and kind of learn and develop. And decisiveness is really important as well because you need to sometimes take decisions fast and logical and decisions that make sense. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time to think about the situation. You're not given enough time to kind of thoroughly think of an issue that happened in your organization or in your business. You have to have a quick question, a quick decision, but the decision has to always be logical as well. You don't want to take a quick decision and be spontaneous and random and not think of all the obstacles or all the challenges or all the problems that this decision may lead to. But you have to have the skills. If you have entrepreneurial skills, you have to be able to take fast decisions, yet logical questions. And you always have to be curious because curiosity is what really highlights the opportunities, and curiosity is what helps you see things that you've never seen before. So you need to always be learning, you need to always be seeking for knowledge, seeking for skills development, seeking for competencies development. And also have a humanistic outlook. You don't want to be an entrepreneur thinking of the money all the time, thinking of operations, thinking of risks, thinking of how can I accelerate, thinking of how can I bring revenue without having a humanistic outlook, because you're at the end of the day serving people, you're helping people kind of solving their challenges and the problems. Because what is exactly entrepreneurship? It's about identifying opportunities, and these opportunities you're identifying to who? To the community, to the people, to the world, to the nation, right? So you need to have that humanistic outlook because ultimately you can give, if you can give one person a unique life, then most definitely you have done a difference. So that a humanistic outlook is really important in this set of skills. Now, if we look at it from higher educational institutions, why I want to do that? Because right now we talked about it generically, and we know that a lot of people would say, well, what's in it for me as an educational institution? Why did I attend this workshop? I wanted you to attend this workshop so you understand that in higher educational institutions, there are certain entrepreneurial skills that need to be addressed and need to be developed for students and for staff. And this is according to the 2021 list. I'm gonna name them, and the list is very operational. We do things like every day, but we don't really kind of see that we do these things, but we kind of do them every day. And if we don't do them, then we are not an entrepreneurial university. We need to focus on these skills in order to develop our entrepreneurial mindset and also to kind of foster the entrepreneurial university model. And that is something very important, because right now, if we don't have that culture in our university, then we are going to struggle in the next 10 years. Okay, so when you're teaching, when you are working with students, when you are working with your colleagues on project, you need to consider these skills, because these are very important, because this is what we need to empower ourselves in the next 10 years. These are going to be the most important skills that we need to kind of survive in the educational institution. The first one is creative thinking and information seeking. Okay, so when students are learning in the class, we don't want them to kind of depend on us as the only, for example, facilitators, education giver. We want them to be able to kind of have research skills, to kind of be independent learners, and go online and learn things and see things from kind of a different perspective, and not the technologies are available, the resources are many. They can just go online, type in anything, learn. And luckily, with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of students have kind of gained this skill because they didn't have any other option. Everything is put online. So that's an advantage, one of the advantages that the pandemic has given us as an education institution. A lot of students would say, it's okay, I'll go back to the recording. I may go on YouTube and watch some videos. I'll go to, Masadir and kind of Google some stuff there, and kind of read similar articles and understand the thing that I'm learning, right? So the resources are many, but we need to also encourage our students and encourage ourselves first to kind of seek for information continuously. And when it comes to the ability to combine and to see opportunities, critical thinking, we have already talked about the importance of that. But in our university, we also need to make sure that we empower these kind of skills. We foster them in our teaching, in our operation. We have to give the students a different pair of eye to kind of see opportunities, to see things critically, and to analyze them, and to find ultimate solutions that could help anyone. The spirit of initiative and autonomy, we already see a lot of initiatives from our students, and that is a green light. It tells us that the students are actually taking that initiative spirit from the staff or from the faculty or from the university. They see that there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of student clubs, student organizations. They help students see things, or maybe connect with the community, do initiatives, uh, do something that is not required of them. Because when it comes to us, we often want to do things that are really strictly required to us. What is your job description? My job description is to do A, B, C, D. But when you have an entrepreneurial mindset, okay, I do A, B, C, D, plus I have this initiative that I want to conduct, but because I feel that it's going to be an added value to the organization. So we need to also focus on the spirit of initiativeness. We need to help our students and help ourselves to think out of the box, to do things that are not required of us. Why? Because these things, even if they're small and minor things, they make a difference in our lives, and they add value, and they give us that spirit that we need, the giving spirits. Okay? And the ability to solve problems, create value, and the ability to work with available resources. Because a lot of times people would say, well, I don't have any resources at the university, and I don't really want to do these kind of proposals, initiatives, and nobody's going to pay attention to them because we don't have much resources available. But again, whatever resources you have, just work around the scope that you have in your campus. If you have very minimal resources, you're better off than other countries where they have zero resources, but they still have tried to do some initiatives to kind of do something fun and do something nice and do something given. So don't give up, and still try to kind of adjust your initiatives around the available resources that you have on campus. And then the ability to make decisions that take into account constraints. You need to also make sure that when you take decisions, you understand the challenges, you understand the obstacles, you understand the constraints that may lead to these decisions. And if you can do that, then you are definitely going towards an entrepreneurial mindset, and you're going to contribute to an entrepreneurial university. Timely achiever, we already, respect time in educational institutions, and we give time a very important, presence in everywhere. Education is really primarily set on times and guidelines and calendars. So we're working on that and we're good with that, but we still have to make sure that when we have tasks to achieve and achievements that we want to do for our organization, we need to make sure that these are short and fast, and we're doing them in a timely manner where we finish them, with just a blink of an eye, even though it may not sound realistic. But just to have that kind of mindset and mentality, it'll help you be a fast achiever. But if you think, well, I have a whole semester, I'm going to do my initiative at the end of the semester because I will have less load, then you're most likely not going to do anything. But if you think about things and give them specific timelines and kind of specify the dates and make sure that you do things the way you plan them, then you are most likely going to put yourself in a challenge. And when you put yourself in a challenge, then you're most likely going to achieve that determination of yours. Okay, so determination, persistence, resilience, promoter, and relationship builder. If we have all these skills as staff and faculty here at the university, and if we encourage our students to have these skills through our teachings, through our, when we deal with them, when we communicate with them, if we kind of make sure that these skills are, communicated, then transformation will happen. If we do not communicate this, then it is a challenge, and we're going to face a lot of obstacles and anomalies, and we'll not be able to kind of see the transformation that we want to see as a university, especially that now we have become the second largest higher education institution. I think it's a lot of burden on us, and we have to really take these steps in order to achieve the vision and in order to achieve the strategic goals and objectives of the university, because we don't have any other option. It may be a little bit time consuming, it may be, hectic, and it requires a lot of effort. But again, if we all collaborate and work together, even, simple efforts would really count and would help, paint the bigger picture. Just like there are skills for the entrepreneurial mindset, there are also killers of the entrepreneurial mindset. You may say, what do you mean by killers? Killers, no shooting, but there are things that when you do, they kill your entrepreneurial mindset. You may have an entrepreneurial mindset, you are a risk taker, you are a person who is really interested in change, who is resilient to change, who is can take fast decisions, who is thinking about who has a business kind of outlook, but still have these kind of skills or killers. If you have these things, then you will definitely ruin the whole entrepreneurial mindset perspective. So what are the things that you need to avoid? Highlight the word you need to avoid in order to have your entrepreneurial mindset clean and clear and ready to give. The first one is fear and anxiety. If you have fear, if you have anxiety, if you have uncertainties and things that make you feel about something that may happen and you're not really sure about its outcome, again, we go back to the risk. If you have fear and anxiety, you'll never be able to take risk, calculated risk. So that's kind of the opposite of the entrepreneurial mindset. And if you have fear and anxiety, that's it, you're done. You'll never be able to take that, jump, the leap of faith, and that could lead to you not being entrepreneurial at all. So fear and anxiety is a big no. And then the second one is overconfidence. Why do I see overconfidence? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, sadly, they would say, I can achieve whatever I want. I am the CEO of company A, and I have all the skills and competencies, and I believe that I can reach my potential without anybody's support. And I believe that I am the only one capable of solving this issue. I am an innovator, and I have all these people gathering here, looking at me and praising me and giving me the credit for all the work that I've done. And I don't believe anybody else is better than me. If you have this kind of mindset, then you are going to kill yourself because you have just killed so many skills that are not, entrepreneurial. So overconfidence is not a good way to be or a good skill to have. It's not actually a skill, it's a killer. You don't want to have that killer in your resume, you know? Imagine that you're writing a resume and then you have overconfidence. Nobody would hire you because they would say, well, this person is a little bit, overconfident. We don't believe that this is a perfect, candidate for the position because we want people who are confident, but we don't want people who are overconfident. So that's the kind of opposite of confidence, which is a skill required for entrepreneurial mindset. When it comes to indecision, we don't want people who are indecisive or people who are not able to take fast decision, not able to take logical and to think thoroughly about their decisions, right? If we have this kind of killer, then you're not a good person for entrepreneurship. You may be an entrepreneur after practice and after changing your mindset, then yes. But if you have indecisiveness in your traits and in your behavior, then it will be a very big challenge for you in order to obtain an entrepreneurial mindset. And the fourth one is perfectionism. Why perfectionism is bad? Perfectionism is sometimes positive because you always give whatever maximum effort you can give, but sometimes it could lead you to delay things because you are thinking of something this big, and in reality, it could be this small, and you are giving it, you are overusing the resources, you're overusing the skills, you're overusing the knowledge and the capabilities available in order for you to kind of manifest that specific thing. And so perfectionism is a good skill in some occasions, but in some occasions it's preferable that you do not uh, have perfectionism personality because it may delay you from achieving, it may restrict you, it may limit you from giving whatever you could. You could say, I have a venture, I have thought about this business plan, I have worked it through, and you are a perfectionist, by the way. Okay, so I'm talking about a perfectionist who have worked on their business idea, prepared everything, all the operations, all the mathematics, and everything, and still did not launch the business because they believe that they have all the entrepreneurial skills. They're willing to take challenge. They're confident and everything. But the problem is that they're perfectionists. They believe that their idea is too good and too perfect that they will not
Hi, everybody. Sorry, maybe Miss Juhaina, she has a technical problem. We can wait few minutes, please. Maybe technical problem. The sound.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Technical
I,
problem.
yeah, I apologize. I think the Wi-Fi in the office, I don't know, it went.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm
Continue.
back. Okay. Can you view the slide? Okay, so we
Yes.
talked about the mindset killers, the entrepreneurial mindset killers, And we mentioned fear, anxiety, overconfidence, indecision, and I was talking about perfectionism and how it could prevent you from achieving your potential, and it could limit you from achieving your goals, and as well as procrastinating. Because if you are going to say, well, I'll do this tomorrow, I'm going to keep this until a couple of days because I'm kind of busy right now. Oh, I have a lot of obligations and I am too tight. My schedule is super, full. I cannot do this at this time. And so another killer of the entrepreneurial mindset, and we have laziness, low self-esteem. You don't have the drive. It's the opposite of overconfidence. Overconfidence and low self-esteem, they're extremely bad for any person who wants to develop their entrepreneurial mindset. And also we have discouragement. You need to always encourage yourself and also encourage those around you. And give yourself the motive and the fire to kind of work and find the potential in whatever project, in whatever business that you're looking at. And you don't want to be impulsive and random, as I mentioned earlier. You need to be very specific. You need to envision what you want to achieve in the future. You want to have a clear objectives, goals, and set of expectations in order for you to kind of achieve what you're seeking for. And no comfort zone. If you want to sit on a comfort zone and you don't want to really contribute to whatever you're really required to do, and you're really intention to do to make a difference, then definitely you're not going to develop your entrepreneurial mindset. So these are all killers. Avoid them. If you see yourself anxious or fearful or overconfident or indecision and a perfectionist, you procrastinate a lot, you're lazy, you have low self-esteem, and you're discouraged, and you're impulsive, and you're random, and you like to be on your comfort zone, then know that these are skills that you need to change them into the opposite of them in order to have entrepreneurial mindset. Because if you're not going to work on them, most likely you're not going to be an entrepreneur. You're not going to have that entrepreneurial mindset that is required for you to survive. Because right now, entrepreneurial mindset is not a skill that you want to have it, you can have it. If you don't want to have it, it's fine. You're not required. It is actually no. It is a skill required from every individual working in an educational institution, working in an industry, working private, government sector. Everything is entrepreneurial. The government is actually heading toward entrepreneurial governmental, operations. So you need to, whether sooner or later, you need to kind of identify these killers, kind of avoid them and work on developing your entrepreneurial skills. Okay. Now you're going to tell me, okay, how am I going to develop my entrepreneurial mindsets? Well, we have two kind of mindsets: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The difference between the fixed and the growth is identified here in this picture, as you can see here. We have the belief. When it comes to beliefs, people with fixed mindsets believe that skills, intelligence, and talents are natural. So you don't have to do any effort. These are fixed people, okay? So we're talking about fixed. Everything is natural. Future is shameful, or failure is shameful and should be avoided. Some people are naturally good at things and others are not. You are not in control of your abilities. So this is what they believe in. They believe that everything comes natural. Well, I was born a writer because my family, had a background of writing. So it's not a talent that I should really identify as an opportunity and work on it and kind of invest on this talent, but rather think of it as something natural that came to me without any effort, and it should be there. I should not really play with it or put any effort in order to develop it. And I believe that if I'm going to develop it, I'm going to fail maybe. So why fail? Failure is shameful. So I'm better off sitting on my corner comfortably, doing what I'm doing, doing what I'm supposed to do when I want to do. As opposed to growth mindsets, people with growth mindsets believe that you have the capacity to learn and grow your skills. It's the exact opposite. Failure is a valuable lesson, and people who are good at something are good because they built that ability, and you are in control of your abilities. So the exact opposite belief system. And now I'm going to ask, whether if you want to have a fixed or growth mindset. I personally would feel like if I say fixed mindset, then I'm not going to survive in the next 10, 20 years, I'm just going to be sitting here and everybody is ahead of the game while I'm sitting at the back, of the stadium watching everybody ahead of the game. And that is the issue that we don't want to see people encountering in the future. You need to alter your beliefs. You need to change your perspective. You need to change your expectations. Failure is never shameful. Failure is always an opportunity for you to learn, to develop. And that's the belief system that you need to have. You always should be able to think that you are in control of your abilities. You are not, you are in control. You don't want to say, I'm not in control of my abilities, because you believe that you have these skills, these competencies, the knowledge, the know-how, then yes, you are in control. You can do whatever you want to do, right? But if you believe that you're not in control, you're not going to make any difference, you're not going to change, you're not going to be able to flourish and develop, and you're not going to be able to survive. When it comes to efforts, not necessarily or useful, but when it comes to effort, more important part of the process, focused on the process of getting better. So the efforts is really important here. Okay? Not necessarily or useful. See efforts as a negative thing and something you do when you are not that good. Okay? So different perspectives, and we need to make sure that when it comes to challenges, here the fixed mindset will avoid them, but the growth mindset will embrace these challenges and will be more likely to enjoy the challenges that they come along their way and learn from them and kind of get the benefits from these challenges. When it comes to mistakes, these people avoid mistakes because they're afraid, right? They don't want to take that risk, so they get discouraged when making mistakes and avoid them. But when it comes to mistakes here, they believe as mistakes improve their personalities, improve their mindsets, and see mistakes as learning opportunities. When it comes to feedback, again, feedback and mistakes are kind of different, the same. When it comes to here, they're defensive, and they're here, they're constructive. The growth mindset would take the feedback as a positive, even if the feedback was negative, they will take it as a learning outcome, something that they will learn from, something that they will develop, something that will enhance their productivity and enhance their operations. So why should we have growth mindsets? The reasons are many, but I'm gonna just name 4 important reasons that helps us kind of understand that the growth mindset is really essential for us. The first one, it allows us to move into new fields. So if you have a growth mindset, you would understand that, well, I have a talent, so why don't I utilize this specific talent to kind of explore a different venture? Why can't I do something different with this skill of mine? Because I believe that this skill will be, a trend in the next 2, 3 years, and I can utilize that in that specific area. So why not move in this field? So growth mindset always allows you to see opportunities and explore new fields. It fosters resilience. You're never settled. You're always changing, 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 and you're happy with the change because in every change you make, you're learning something new, and that is something that you really enjoy out of being entrepreneurial. You enjoy seeing things happen different today than happening tomorrow, than the way they'll happen tomorrow. So that is another thing that will really help you, and that's why you need to have a growth mindset. It enables you to iterate on your product, so you can always go back to your product, go back, improve, go back, improve. It gives you that interest of change, interest of getting feedback, interest of making mistakes, interest of controlling whatever you have in your hands, because that is the power that the fixed mindset people do not have. And it keeps you humble as well, because you know that still you know nothing. There is always mistakes, there is always feedback, there's always people giving you support. So there's nothing that I could do to say, well, I am perfect, I am the person who has all the information and the know-how on this specific matter. But it keeps you humble because you know that there is always room to learn, there is always room for something new, and that is something that will keep you humble, because you believe that, well, I don't know everything. Somebody else will come and give me feedback. Somebody else will be better than me. And I am open to that. I'm resilient to change and resilient to feedback. And that's what keeps you humble. Okay, now, as an employee or an entrepreneur, now let's make a quick comparison. Look at yourself. You're an employee. You are part of a large team. If you're an entrepreneur, you are the team. maybe you have some people working with you or under you, whatever it is, but you are part of a large team right now as an employee. Your goals are established from your department, and you have a shared vision, a shared goal from the organizations that you're working in. Now, right now, we're working at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences. We have a message, or we have a vision. We have our message to the students. We have our values. We have our graduate attribute. All these things we should work all collaboratively together, aligned to achieve these goals. But when it comes to entrepreneurs, they make their own values, they make their own goals, they make their own, decisions, because they are the business owners. They have full ownership of whatever business they're operating in. When it comes to the actions, you're directed by your manager, and here self-directed, self-prioritized. When it comes to your role in the company that you're working in or in the organization that you're working in, you're just a specialist, right? Working on a specific thing, right? Right now, I'm, for example, a QA officer. So my specialty is in QA. But when it comes to an entrepreneur, you need to be a generalist. You need to have an idea of everything. You need to have a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, a little bit of supply chain, a little bit of technology, a little bit of finance, and so on. You need to have a general idea of at least the different disciplines that you'll be dealing with your business. When it comes to the support, I have many departments. They have less, but they can find specialists when they ever need any specialist. When it comes to support, I have specialist support. I can call the ATC right now if I want something. I can call, for example, HR if I want something, right? So we have support here. When it comes to the impact, maybe as an individual working in the department right now, I have maybe a lower impact, but the entrepreneur has a higher impact. But when it comes to part or large whole, here greater ownership. Here just part or large contribution. When it comes to complexity, here we have a matrix environment, navigation, and here we have greater structural simplicity. When it comes to personal growth, we have a more linear, laddered kind of way. Maybe right now I am a QA officer, maybe I can be a first QA officer, second, whatever the career. So it's different. When you are an entrepreneur, it's a non-linear equation, and it's not laddered, and the learning is based on learning. When it comes to risk, I have low risk, less exposure. Here, more exposure. When it comes to compensation, it's predictable. Excuse me, somebody. Yeah, thank you. And when it comes to our compensation here, it's determined by fluctuations. So right now I could be making, 100,000 reals, but next month it's not really, the same. But when you are an employee, you have your paycheck at the end of the month, and it's the same salary you get paid, right? Unless you're absent, you're not coming to work, and you have health issues or problems, right? But if you're an entrepreneur, it's all determined by your fluctuations or by the operations fluctuation. It could be really, good this month, and next month it could be, really bad. And that's how it determines the compensation that you receive. When it comes to hours, again, we have here regular sets. Now, there is something called entrepreneur. I want to know if anybody knows what is an entrepreneur. What is the difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur? Can we see if anybody could answer to that question? Does anybody know what is the difference between intrapreneur and entrepreneur? Should I pick randomly or somebody else would volunteer? Nobody? Okay, I'll just say it. Okay, so there is entrepreneurship and there is intrapreneurship. So an entrepreneur is a person who started up their own business, okay? A person who set up his own business with a new idea or concept. And an intrapreneur refers to an employee of an organization who is in charge of undertaking innovation in products, services, processes, etc. So I could be an entrepreneur if I have my own business, and I could be an intrapreneur if I'm working within an organization and I am having that, entrepreneurial mindset. So I don't really have maybe all the skills required for me to be an entrepreneur or the capabilities. And I feel like I want to practice entrepreneurship before, starting my own venture. I want to practice it on the campus or in the university or in my organization. And that is why I chose to be an intrapreneur first. So entrepreneur within the organization that you're working on. What are the differences between these two things? The first thing, you own it. You are the boss of yourself. The second one, you work within an organization, but you come up with entrepreneurial ideas. You come up with differences. You come up with adjustments. You come up with change. You propose things that you want to see happen, right? So this is the difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneur. Here, you're an independent entrepreneur. Here, you're dependently working with other people. You're financed by the organization. You're restorative because you don't have a lot of resources, and your approach is very limited. But still, you are planning to help the organization that you belong to, in the sense of giving your skills, your knowledge, your capabilities in order to develop its results. And so that is the difference between an entrepreneur and entrepreneur. An entrepreneur uses their own resources. It's raised by them, newly established. They work independently without, being under somebody else's umbrella, and they create a leading position in the market. When it comes to the entrepreneur, they change and renew the existing organizational culture. So right now, for example, I am in the entrepreneurship and innovation department. I want to think entrepreneurially. So I'll become an entrepreneur and I will speak to my manager and I'll tell her about the possibility of maybe exploring set of programs that maybe suit our students' needs and would help our students develop and foster the culture of entrepreneurship. So I'm thinking out of the box. I'm thinking of a program that hasn't been done yet, and a program that could, really enlighten our students and help them envision entrepreneurship and innovation in the long run. So that is the difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneur. If you don't have the capabilities, don't give up. Don't say, I can't be an entrepreneur. You can still be an entrepreneur in your organization, and it doesn't necessarily require compensation, because sometimes you'd say, well, why should I work on the organization and think about solutions, think about potential projects and potential programs when there is no compensation. Compensation will come. You just have to prove yourself. You just have to work a little bit harder and kind of identify things that you could definitely do to make a change in your organization and change its culture, its belief, its environment. And if that change is seen, then definitely your efforts will be recognized and appreciated. So if you can't be an entrepreneur, you can be an intrapreneur. And when it comes to our responsibilities, I've named a list of skills that are required of us as an educational institution. And one of the skills that we've mentioned here is the to build competitive and innovative capabilities by providing a simulating environment and effective engaging with community. So exactly this is what it is required for us to be an entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur, you need to build a competitive and innovative capabilities. You don't necessarily have to say, well, there are no compensation, as I mentioned. Do what you got to do until your efforts are recognized and appreciated. So this is the mission of the university. We want everybody to have that kind of mindset. We want everybody to be involved in the process of the change, because the change will never come from the management themselves. The management will kind of prepare us and will give us the tools, the equipment, the resources, will give us the headlines, but whatever comes under these headlines, the processes, the operations are all done through these people who come in the in the under hierarchy, which is us. And so that is our obligation. We have to work on the same, gear our goals and efforts toward the same mission and vision. And then when it comes to our vision is leading a technological and applied education to contribute to the development of sustainable and knowledge-based society. Again, when we talked at the beginning about Oman and how dependent it is on oil and gas, and how can we change our mindsets to be entrepreneurs and to help in the diversification and to help in achieving Oman 2040 vision, and to help also contribute in building a knowledge-based economy, because that's what the country is looking forward into. We're looking at focusing primarily on knowledge instead of focusing on oil and gas as the primary resource that has a profound impact on our economy. We want to focus on knowledge. How can we transfer technologies from universities? How can we start businesses? How can you incubate these projects? How can we accelerate them to be businesses? How can we connect with industry to help these projects kind of thrive and um, and kind of sustain in the market? So that is our vision as a university. When it comes to our strategic priorities, we have here research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. It's one of the strategic things that we have. And when it comes to goals, we have a lot pursue excellence in research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And when it comes to our values, we have here excellence, then diversity, inclusion, loyalty, identity, collaboration. All these are skills, entrepreneurial skills, and we need these skills. And when it comes to our graduate attributes, our graduates are expected to have what? Communication skills, entrepreneurial skills, teamwork and leadership, lifetime learning, and we talked about an entrepreneur has to have a lifetime learning skill. You never depend on your college to to give you the education that you need and that's it. Once you graduate, you're off the boat. No, you have to have a continuous learning process. Every day, learn something small, even if it's one sentence that you learned a day. It is something that will contribute to your overall knowledge and will definitely contribute to the overall economy, which is a knowledge-based of economy. And then all of the graduate attributes, if you look at them, they're all mapped with entrepreneurial mindset skills. And so that's all, the skills put in front of our eyes. They're advertised, they're marketed, and they're always, highlighted in our meetings. But do we really pay attention to these kind of values, missions, goals, strategic priorities, objectives? Do we really sit with ourselves and say, well, these are the goals. This is what I'm going to achieve. These goals are mapped with the vision, and now ijada came, and I think that's a good starting point for us to kind of map our goals, our visions, our tasks, our responsibilities with ijada and with the priorities of the university, their objectives, their values, in order for us to kind of have a graduate pool of potential entrepreneurial students who can create value, who can define opportunities, who can solve problems, who can help in a building a knowledge-based economy. And that is our, ultimate goal as a university. And this should not only be highlighted for students only, because staff and faculty should also focus on that, because again, as I mentioned earlier, the equation will not be complete if the students will be enlightened and developed and empowered in these kind of skills, and the staff are not really paying attention to these skills and not keeping up with the technological changes that are happening, with the trends that are happening around the world, with the skills required of them in order to sustain and survive in the next 10 years. Then what is the point of educating students? We need to educate students and educate ourselves and kind of familiarize ourselves with whatever is required from us in order to survive as an educational institution, and in order for us to be an entrepreneurial university that everybody points at and says, well, University of Technology and Applied Sciences is the ultimate university if you want to have entrepreneurial graduates with outstanding creativity skills, innovative skills, thinking out of the box, problem solving, decision making, complex issues, analyzing. So all of these efforts will be only recognized and appreciated if we could all work collaboratively and kind of find solutions to these kind of problems. Now, many would say, okay, we're willing to do that, Johanna. We have the, the drive, the excitement, the passion to make the change and to see that happening. But we have a lot of challenges, that hinder us from being entrepreneurial. And one of the most important challenges that a lot of people would complain about is the teaching load, and how can we, work on something extra and take that extra mile and a leap of faith with having a teaching load on our hands that is immeasurable. What can I do? I have a lot of classes to teach. I'm fully booked. My schedule is hectic. I can't take any more efforts, and I cannot participate, and I cannot do any initiatives that will empower entrepreneurial skills. The answer is, it's okay. If you feel like you are overwhelmed, you're bombarded, you cannot do anything about it, then at least you could implant these skills while teaching to students. And then we have research and development. A lot of research has been done, but not a lot of research has been transformed into actual businesses or actual projects, or they're not linked into industry. So that's a challenge. Why work on research when there are just research papers written with no application, with no like an effect prior to that research conducted. And then the routine works, again, it requires a lot of efforts, a lot of formalities, admin work. But again, if you can find yourself, if you can manage, if you can prioritize, if you can help yourself identify your goals, you'll be able to kind of block these hinders from happening. And then built on certain expectation, outdated. This is one of the challenges. We need to update our education system. We need to update our curriculums. We have here the last point, curriculum development. Our curriculums need to have the BPL, the project-based learning. It has to be an experiential learning experience. So the students would not come to the class and, for example, learn about entrepreneurship theory, but they have to create businesses, and there has to be, a system where you follow up these businesses and you check their sustainability. You have to start incubators on the university. You have to have accelerators. You have to have, even if it's not the big amount of money, but you have to have at least an access to finance, some of the projects that you want to build in your organization, in this case our university. And so management mindset, we also need to make sure that our management mindset is flourishing and is developing and is understanding the desire of higher education institution to be on the top of the spear when it comes to entrepreneurial skills. What are the skills that are required from my staff, of the people that work under the organization, under the higher education institution? What can I do to equip them, to give them the skills needed in order for them to empower the students, in order to cultivate that culture on campus? That mindset is not really evident in a lot of education institutions. And if we have that mindset, again, we'll be able to, block these challenges and turn them into opportunities. And then one of the most, challenging things that, no one talks about failure. Even if we have a lot of projects that happen and startups that came from the university, when the university lecturers or teachers teach their students, they do not necessarily tell them, well, there are businesses that failed, and give them, failure stories, because they believe that if we tell them that, then they would definitely think of, why should I, be in the business world when there are already failures and stated by our, ex-teacher. But if you talk about failure, because it's important, because failure, you cannot, it's over romanticized. People don't talk about failure. They talk about success, success, success. And so for higher education institution, we need to have failure stories. And that's why we need to follow up. We need to kind of check who is sustaining, who is not sustaining, what are their failures causes, what can we do exactly to help these failures in the future, to help avoid them, right? So if we have all these answers, then we're going to overcome these challenges for sure. So as they say, the big show is in higher education institution. It is our responsibility to be entrepreneurial. We don't have any other option. It is the option and the only option. We don't have any other option. We have to be an entrepreneurial university, whether now or 5 years from now, in order to sustain, in order to provide quality education, in order to have quality graduates who can, have a profound impact on the economy. So the first thing we need to do is change our institutional culture. The second thing, we need to broaden our parameters. The ripple effect when you drop a pen and maybe in the river, what happens? You see the ripple effects, you see the big circles around. When you see that ripple effect, that is our responsibility as higher education institution. We need to give that ripple effect. We need to broaden our parameters. We don't want to focus on one single parameter that is most important for our education system. We need to incorporate entrepreneurial teaching. We need to incorporate project-based learning. We need to incorporate exponential learning experience for our students and for our staff as well. No? In order to have that bigger ripple effect, to have something that covers everyone, broad, right? And that is very essential. Like you have a teacher that says, the most important aspect for me is to see a graduate with a 4.0 GPA. But that is, underestimating the ripple effect. You're only looking at one parameter. You're looking at the GPA, but you're discarding all other factors that could play a very significant role in developing the students that you're targeting. And then we have promote entrepreneurial innovative thinking graduation projects. A lot of projects are actually working on that right now, but we need more projects that encourage entrepreneurial innovation thinking and kind of take them to the next level. This is a project I want to work on as a student, as my graduation project. It incorporates entrepreneurial thinking, innovative thinking, and teachers should encourage that and carry on with that project, with these projects. Follow new trends and technologies, additive map model. We need to follow up on the trends and technology, what is happening. We need to be updated, right? We need to be aware of what is going on around the world in order for us to kind of benchmark and see where are we at right now. What is it that we're doing wrong? How can we improve it? How can we do it differently? What are the skills that we need? What can we do to kind of get a better quality education? And then enhance skills and competencies through education and experience, build character-driven and change-oriented students, empower students' bodies that help promote the vision, assuming responsibilities. You don't want to say, well, my responsibility is solely academic, I'm teaching and that's it. But when you think of it as, from a macroeconomic perspective, or a macroeconomic perspective is different. It's not the same. So you need to think of it, well, I need to have I'm responsible to make an impact on economic, on my social, communities, culture. All these factors are very important, and I need to make sure that the education that I'm providing in the higher education institution will have a ripple effect on at least one of these, because it is my responsibility. And if you do that, you will definitely see that you have, played a big role in making a difference. And we have to also push startups and make sure that we follow up with them, we communicate with them, we understand their challenges, we understand their needs in order to avoid it when we're dealing with, future projects. And that is something very important. Now, I want to ask you a question. How entrepreneurial are you? Do you think you are entrepreneurial or no? After going through the session today, I hope that you have understood the qualities of an entrepreneur, the killers of entrepreneurial mindset, uh, the way how it should be in higher education institution, and where do you see yourself stand? Do you see yourself a person who can be an entrepreneur, or a person who can be an entrepreneur, or a person who is non-entrepreneurial at all? So I'm sure by this time you'll be able to identify yourself and see kind of where do you see yourself. Okay? So imagine, I'm going to ask you a question. Imagine that you've been given the privilege of having a third eye added to your body. You can have this eye added to anywhere on your body that you choose. Explain where would you put the eye and why. Can I have somebody answer that question, please? And I want to know why. Anybody, please? I need an answer. At least one person. If you are given a privilege to
In
have a
the
third,
back,
I,
back
I
of
beg
my
your
head,
pardon?
back of my
Why
head,
would you say that?
to see everything like from behind and from front.
Okay. Somebody else with a thank you with another answer?
Maybe we should to prepare some gifts for for answers, because all session they don't want to like participate.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
We
Yeah.
should. The HR has been.
Okay. So right now, the guy said, I'm sorry I didn't read your name, but he said that he would have it on the back of his back. Why? Because he wanted to see everything from a perspective that he doesn't see. Right now, he uses his two pair of eyes to see in front, but he's not able to see what is going on around him or at the back. But if he has the third eye in his back, he will be able to see things from another perspective. And that is basically an ideal answer. But again, the answer should not be in the back, or on my arm or in my leg. It should be, I'll put it anywhere as long as I can see from another perspective. And that is something that entrepreneurs need, or entrepreneurial people need. They need to see things from other perspective, because seeing things from their own perspective and not wearing other hats and not wearing other shoes may not give them the privilege of reaching their potential. But if they have that kind of sense and they have that drive, then they're most likely going to see things from a different perspective. Now I need another person to answer this question. Don't worry, we're coming to the end. We're about to wrap up the presentation, but I just want to see if somebody can tell me, if you join the dots, these three dots, how will you join them? I want you to make sure that you pass through all these lines, and there has to be a straight line. But how would you do them? Can anybody tell me?
Like ups and downs, like 7 and 8 in Arabic.
Okay, so zigzag.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else? I need two answers at least for this question. How would you join the dots?
Maybe
Nobody?
like a bit
Yeah,
in the
go
middle of
ahead.
Z.
Z, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now if you noticed, I didn't tell you that you are strictly, given that specific box, like from here to kind of connect. And the ideal sample is that somebody created 3 lines out and kind of drew a line that passed through all these dots, but created their own lines. If you see here, we had only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Go back to the picture. We had only 6 dots. But this person created 3 more dots at the top and did what? And went out of the box. So this is the entrepreneurial mindset. You never restrict yourself. You never accept barriers. You never accept limitations. You always go beyond and beyond, and we always take that extra mile and think out of the box and see things from another perspective. So always, when you are given a situation at work or with your family or anywhere, you see things from your perspective and then try to kind of be somebody else. Try to wear a different hat, a hat of a doctor, a hat of an engineer, a hat of a friend, a hat of a neighbor, and see how will you see the situation. And once you do that practice more often, you will realize that you have broadened your horizons and you have done the ripple effect more than a time, because you have broadened your parameters and you're doing things from a different perspective. And that is the ideal thing. Okay, so this is an activity that I'm going to give you, and I advise you to go home and do a constructing line, of your lifetime, a lifetime line. So you draw a line, and this line, it should be your life since you were born until today, where you are today. Okay, not until you die. May God give you long life and a healthy one. But since you were born until today, where have you been through your journey in life? And then you have these P, V, S, R, Y, X. You have the peak or high points, and then you have through or low points, and they have stressful moments, you have risky choices, you have your own choices and not your own choices. And try to look at the major events that happen in your life, whether if it's a venture, whether if it's a decision regarding your academia, whether if it's a decision regarding your marriage, whether it's a kids decision. This is a very simple exercise that will help you kind of see things from a different perspective. And then once you have highlighted all these points, you have, for example, 5 P's, 6 V's, for example, 6 S's, 4 R's, Y, you only have 1 Y, and then you have 3 X's. That means, for example, you start analyzing, and it tells you, since you have only 1 Y, that means you are not responsible, you're not accountable, you have only taken one responsible choice, and all the other choices are not your choice. They were just followed, and you've been following these choices, guided or given or directed to you by somebody else. Then you are not really responsible and accountable of your action. When it comes to risky, you only had 2, for example, then yeah, you're not a person who is a risk taker. When it comes to stressful, a lot of events of your life encountered stress, which means you have anxiety, you have fear. which means you cannot take risk, which means you cannot make your own choices, right? And so this is just as a very simple example that you can practice doing at home. And then from this example, you'll be able to understand, how entrepreneurial are you throughout your life? Can you be an entrepreneur? Are you a person of a risk? Are you a person who has a lot of high points, a lot of achievements, a lot of success stories to tell, right? Or are you a person who's been through a lot of problems, a lot of stress, not able to take risk, not able to make choices, depend on family, depend on spouse, take a decision? Then you would definitely have at least a better idea of your entrepreneurial outlook in life. And if you do that, then you will definitely have a better idea. Well, am I an entrepreneur? Can I be an entrepreneur? Will I be at least an entrepreneur in the organization? How can I change my mindset? What are the skills that I need in order to kind of cope up with whatever is required of me? And it's never too late. You can still change. You can still see the change that you want to see happen, and you can promote it. You can work hard on it, and you can develop your skills in order to kind of achieve the potential that you want to do, which is having an entrepreneurial mindset. Last but not least, to cultivate the entrepreneurial mindset, we must create entrepreneurial learning experience within our classroom, organizations, and communities. If we cultivate this mindset will be able to enjoy our lives, we'll be able to see more change, we'll be able to see success, we'll be able to see ventures that solve our problems, we'll be able to see businesses that look at our challenges, we'll be able to see happy graduates, successful graduates, productive graduates. Will be able to see our economy in full recovery, will be able to see our economy flourishing, will be able to enjoy the everlasting, hopefully, wealth that our economy will give us through just utilizing our knowledge, changing our mindset, changing the way we think, seeing things from other perspective, and enriching our entrepreneurial skills. I believe that this is it for today's session. I thank you so much for your time, and I hope that it covered the important areas that I have discussed. If you have any other questions or you want to know more about anything, feel free to ask me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juhaina. Thanks, everybody. It's really a very informative session.
I'm glad it was.
Yes. And thanks for all. Just I want to inform that you're going to receive an email regarding to the feedback. So until you fill the feedback, you will get your certificate. It will be uploaded immediately in your PC. So please make sure that you fill the feedback when you receive the email. Thank you again. Thanks, Juhaina. Thanks, everybody.
No problem. My pleasure. Nobody has any questions?
I do have a question, please, if
Yeah,
I
please.
have time. Thank you for this session. Actually, it's very informative. You're
Thank you.
very good in theory. Like, can you share your experience in practice? Are you an entrepreneur yourself? Like, did you do any, like, entrepreneurship? Because you are very good in like theory and like lecture and like the way you speak, mashallah. But
Thank you.
like, share your experience if you have any.
Yeah, I'll share my experience. I have a bachelor's in information systems. My master's is in entrepreneurship and management. And I worked as a lecturer at Caledonian College of Engineering, known as the National University of Technology now. I worked there for almost 3 years as a lecturer, and I just moved about a year and a half to the University of Technology and Applied Sciences, but I am currently not teaching. I'm working in the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Department. Hopefully soon I'll be teaching, because I believe that I have a passion in teaching, and I am willing to, ignite change and make changes to students and empower them, inshallah.
I think Mr.
Thank you. All the
Abdullah,
best. Yes.
maybe Mr. Abdullah, he asked about if you have any business or
Yes.
I don't
like
have any businesses.
I mean,
No,
like, are you practicing what you are preaching
I
to us?
practice it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm helping my family with their business, and my husband as well. But personally, I don't have a personal business or a startup. But I always help my family with thinking, critical thinking, taking calculated risk, and also help them with some tips, with finance and stuff like that when it comes to entrepreneurship.
What's stopping you, I mean, from having your own business?
I'm planning on it. I'm still working on it. I have the entrepreneurial mindset, and I am always ready to take a leap of faith. I am not afraid of failure.
it's need a heart, you know. It's need
Yeah.
something else than theories.
I'm planning something that is, top notch. Hopefully,
Yes,
Okay,
inshallah. All the
inshallah.
best. All the best.
inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Johina. Thanks, everybody. Somebody?
لا خلاص راح انا بروح
Saeed?
امتحاني خلص الساعة 2
Anybody has any
والله
questions?
اشوف
I
عبد
think
زين
this is by mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
Thank you.
nobody.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And thank you, HR, for the opportunity that you have given me to present today. I have restored my power in teaching and lecturing, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the session today. Thank you so much.
Inshallah, you are perfect. Inshallah, next session we can see.
Inshallah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
See you,
everybody.
inshallah.
Have a great one. Take care. تقبل الله إن شاء الله. أحسنتم.
Be close from the training page. There is a lot of courses this month, and each month will be inshallah.
إن شاء الله.
Thank you. Thanks.